Hey guys, welcome to Y&R Daily Update YouTube channel. Today's topics: Y&R the rinse January 17. Jack finally finds Victor's weak spot. Jack finally finds Victor's leverage point on the young and the restless, and it is not proof. It is Matt Clark. In the January 17 episode of The Young and the Restless, Jack finally gained real leverage over Victor when Matt Clark resurfaced. Instead of waiting, hesitating, or trying to outmaneuver Victor quietly, Jack moved first, by taking control of Matt's return and placing himself between Victor and the one problem Victor thought he had buried. Jack shifted the balance of power. For the first time in a long time, Victor was forced to respond instead of dictate. Key takeaways: Jack gains control of Matt Clark and immediately uses it to confront Victor. Victor loses control of a situation he believed was permanently contained. The power dynamic between Jack and Victor, quietly but decisively, shifts. What happened on Y&R? Jack Peter Bergman and Diane Susan Walters were already uneasy when Kyle Michael Mueller arrived with confirmation that security had been tracking unusual activity tied to someone from Sharon Case and Nick's Joshua Morrow past. That trail led to Matt Clark, Roger Howarth, alive, mobile, and no longer hidden the way Victor Eric Bredin believed he was. Instead of investigating further or trying to gain more context, Jack acted. He called Victor. Jack told him directly that he had Matt and suggested they make a deal. There was no explanation, no justification, and no emotional framing, just information and the expectation that Victor would understand exactly what it meant. Jack didn't posture, he didn't threaten, he simply placed himself between Victor and a liability Victor had never planned to face again. Why it matters in Victor and Jack's war. Matt isn't just a loose end. He is a living record of Victor's past decisions, the ones that were managed quietly, contained strategically, and never meant to resurface. Victor can survive lawsuits. He can spin scandals. He can even weather betrayals. What he cannot fully control is a person who knows too much and has a vendetta against his family. By holding Matt, Jack now controls timing, access, and exposure. He decides if Matt speaks. He decides where Matt goes. He decides when Victor has to react. That's not leverage built on money or influence. It's leverage built on risk. And Victor understands that better than anyone. The fallout: Victor's playing defense with Matt in Jack's orbit. Victor no longer controls the flow of information or the rhythm of the conflict. Jack does. That changes every negotiation going forward. It changes who has to compromise. It changes who has to explain themselves. And it changes who has to worry about what might come next. Jack didn't defeat Victor. He destabilized him. And for Victor Newman, that is the one position he cannot tolerate. Subscribe our channel for more latest update. For decades on The Young and the Restless, Victor Newman has been portrayed as a movable force of nature rather than a man. He doesn't merely win, he endures. Enemies rise and fall. Empires crumble and rebuild. Yet Victor always remains standing at the center of Genoa City, issuing ultimatums and daring anyone to challenge his authority. That's why January 17th's episode of The Rinse feels so pivotal. According to unfolding developments, Jack Abbott finally finds Victor Newman's weak spot, and this time, it isn't a temporary stumble or a strategic miscalculation. It's something far more dangerous to Victor, a vulnerability Jack can exploit without ever raising his voice. This isn't about brute force. It's about understanding Victor better than Victor understands himself. The illusion of invincibility: Victor's greatest strength has always been his carefully cultivated image of invulnerability. He doesn't just wield power, he projects inevitability. People don't merely fear Victor, they assume resistance is futile. Jack Abbott has spent years trying to crack that illusion and failing. He's attacked Victor's businesses. He's challenged his authority. He's tried to beat him at his own game. And every time, Victor adapted. Until now. Jack's evolution: from reactor to strategist. For much of Y&R history, Jack's Achilles heel has been emotional reactivity. When Victor strikes, Jack responds often too quickly, too loudly, and too personally. But something has changed. Jack has learned to stop reacting and start observing. The January 17th storyline reflects a Jack who has finally realized that Victor's power doesn't come from strength alone, it comes from predictability. Victor expects attacks from certain directions. He prepares for wars he's already imagined. Jack's breakthrough comes when he stops playing the expected role. The weak spot isn't business, it's belief. Here's the twist: Victor's weak spot isn't a company, a contract, or a hostile takeover. It's a belief. Victor believes his family will always fall in Line his moral authority is unquestioned. Version of reality is the only one that matters. Jack finally understands that Victor's certainty is his greatest vulnerability. When someone stops believing Victor's narrative, the entire structure wobbles. Jack doesn't attack. The brilliance of Jack's move on January 17th is that it isn't loud. He doesn't confront Victor. He doesn't issue threats. He doesn't declare war. Instead, he plants doubt in Victor's alliances, Victor's judgment, Victor's assumption that he's untouchable. That kind of damage doesn't explode, it spreads. Victor's blind spot, control over everyone. Victor has always believed he controls the people around him because he knows them. But knowing someone isn't the same as listening to them. Jack recognizes that Victor hasn't truly listened in years. He dictates, he commands, he assumes loyalty. And that assumption, that's the crack in the armor. The role of Nikki, strength or weakness. If there's one person who has always complicated Victor's certainty, it's Nikki Newman. Victor views Nikki as both his anchor and his justification, proof that his world makes sense. But Jack sees something Victor doesn't want to acknowledge. Nikki has grown tired of being managed. January 17 hints that Jack doesn't target Nikki, he respects her autonomy. That contrast alone is destabilizing. Victor doesn't lose power because Nikki betrays him. He loses power because she no longer automatically supports him. Jack's restraint is the real weapon. What makes this storyline compelling is Jack's restraint. He could gloat, he could push harder, he could force Victor into a corner. He doesn't because Jack understands something Victor never has. Power isn't proven through domination, it's proven through patience. Jack lets Victor unravel on his own. Victor's reaction reveals the truth. Victor's response to Jack's maneuver is telling, not rage, but confusion. Victor thrives on conflict. When he can't identify the battlefield, he falters, he starts second-guessing motives, questioning loyalty, overreacting to minor threats. That's not strength, that's fear. Why this weak spot is different. Victor has been beaten before, but those defeats were temporary. He always found a way back because the attacks were external. This one is internal. Jack hasn't taken something from Victor, he's forced Victor to confront the possibility that his authority is no longer absolute. That realization can't be undone. The Rince perspective. This is long-form payoff from the Rince viewpoint. This moment works because it's earned. Years of Jack losing, Jack learning, Jack evolving all culminate in a move that doesn't feel like revenge, it feels like growth. That this isn't Jack becoming Victor, it's Jack becoming something Victor can't control. What this means for the Abbott War. This doesn't end the rivalry, it changes it. Victor will strike back. He always does, but he'll do so without the certainty that once guided him. And a Victor without certainty is unpredictably and dangerous in new ways. Meanwhile, Jack now holds something more valuable than leverage. He holds insight. The fallout. Everyone feels it when Victor's authority wavers. The ripple effects are immediate. Family members feel freer to question him. Business rivals sense opportunity. Old enemies resurface. Jack doesn't need to push. Genoa City does the rest. Is Victor truly vulnerable, or is this a trap? Longtime fans will rightly ask, is this real, or is Victor playing a deeper game? The answer may be both. Victor may recover. He may reassert dominance. He may even turn this moment against Jack. But the fact that Jack found a weak spot at all changes the equation. Jack's victory is quiet but lasting. This isn't a scoreboard win. There's no public humiliation, no dramatic defeat. Just a subtle shift in balance. Those are the victories that last. Final thoughts? The moment that redefined the rivalry. January 17's. The Rince isn't about Jack beating Victor, it's about Jack understanding him. And understanding, in the world of the young and the restless, is the most dangerous weapon of all. Victor Newman has always believed his greatest enemy was Jack's ambition. He was wrong. It was Jack's patience. And now that Jack has finally found Victor's weak spot, the Abbott-Newman war enters a new, far more fascinating phase, one where power isn't seized, but quietly taken. Because the strongest move Jack ever made wasn't an attack. It was waiting long enough to see where Victor was already cracking.